Good evening and welcome to Pressing Issues. I'm your host, Jason Diffendahl, and today is Sunday, January 24th, 2021. Thanks for joining us tonight. Already a shout out to Happy Hosier for two super chats before we even started the show. So thanks very much. But thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We've got a great show ready to kick off here. I'm going to introduce our panel tonight, and there are two new panelists as promised tonight. So our first new panelist is Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Hello, everybody.
Shannon, why don't you take a minute and tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah, so I live in New Jersey. My home park would be Walt Disney World, although I've been to Disneyland and almost made it to Disneyland Paris when I almost missed a connecting flight. Sadly, did not make it, but it is on the to-do list one day. By day, I work for an industrial supply distributor, so I've actually worked with some Imagineers and artists when they call up trying to make things, and they look for raw materials to experiment and make those things. And I'm also a grad student. Go Seton Hall Pirates.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Shannon. Welcome to Pressing Issues. And we've also got Mike today. Hi, Mike.
Hello, everybody.
Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm currently in the Midwest, Kansas City, the home of the Chiefs, in case you're watching that game on another monitor right now. I grew up in California, spent some time at Disneyland as a kid, moved to the Midwest, started spending more time at Disney World through my teens. I even had my honeymoon at Disney World. And then I had an interesting about a 13-year gap till we had kids, and my kids were old enough to go. And we started going back yearly, multiple times a year. And it was a really interesting dynamic after being gone for so long on how you remembered things and how things were. And because of the nature of the industry I was in, I like operational things. I worked for an airline that 24/7, 365. And that's what about Disney always kept my interest, was how you run this behemoth company that basically has zero downtime, and you keep your guest satisfaction and your operations going and your shareholders all happy. So that's kind of where my Disney passion lies.
I think the answer to that question, Mike, is that you can't keep all three of those constituencies happy at the same time. But welcome aboard, Mike. And last but certainly not least, after somewhat of an absence, we have Axel back with us.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. I'm allowed back in. That's great. After my run with Rob Whiteside, we had to focus on some different things, but it's good to be back.
Yes, welcome back. And you're coming to us from a different studio today.
I am coming. Well, this morning we talked about it on the chat that I had like a spare bedroom that I was like giving a little makeover, and I said like, you know what, tonight is the night. We'll reveal a small part of it, and that's where we are right now. It's still like in the making, but yeah, it's starting to look like something. It's good.
Excellent. Yeah, very nice. I see that Jungle Cruise hat on the hat rack behind you.
What? No, other side.
There
you go.
You can move your head, Axel, but the hat won't go on the head. You have to actually.
No, I was showing. So you have a hat, you have a shrunken hat, and you have a little Skipper Canteen mug there as well.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Little souvenirs.
Very good. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the show. Let us put ourselves back here in our Foursquare for those of you who. For those of you who played Foursquare as a kid, and then for those of you who remember that app, remember Foursquare?
God.
Anyway, let's get this show kicked off here. There's a couple things we're going to talk about tonight. One is the Disneyland annual pass survey that's been making the rounds. And what kind of options they're looking at for that. We're also going to talk about Gideon's. Axel, you were there this morning, right?
Unfortunately, I was.
Was there a bad? I didn't watch the live stream. Was there a bad experience at Gideon's this morning?
The experience was great. I mean,
Oh,
if I have to wait an hour for something in Disney, it must be $6 cookies.
must be, must be.
Must
Um,
be.
and then I'm also going to rant a bit about the Epcot posters that are currently on sale at Shop Disney, because that was one of my favorite rants before. And apparently that the series of what, like 39 of them or 38 of them, the series is now was done, and we thought like that was going to be done and we could go home happy. But apparently Shop Disney didn't have enough of my ranting about the first rollout of these posters, and so they've brought them back in some other fashion. A bit of an absurdity, but once again, this nothing really surprises me with Shop Disney. Um, I also did an unboxing video that I have to edit together. I wanted to show it on the show tonight, but it might have to wait till next week, because it was a pretty interesting unboxing video that I did, and it's just a real short little thing, not any big deal. But that'll have to wait till next week. But yes, of course, it has to do with Shop Disney. All right, so let's get started. To those of you who have not seen the news about the survey, the annual passport survey that Disneyland was sending out to, I guess, existing pass holders. There were a number of different passport options and ticket options that they were asking about, and whether you'd be willing to purchase these ticket options or whatnot. And when I looked at this table and tried to understand what they were trying to do with this, it was almost like, I mean, nothing surprises me about this company anymore, but this is like, I don't even know if they know what they're trying to do here. That was really kind of my thought with this, and I'm gonna right now try to put this up and be able to show it on the screen so that we can talk about it. But they give you like 3 different options, and the passes that they have, sort of options proposed here, they've got things like whether you how long the reservation window is for you to make reservations. They have it where how many reservations you can hold at a time. They have it whether there's blockout day. There's a calendar with blockout days, but then even though you're blocked out for a day, apparently some passes give the option of still having tickets available for you to use on those blockout days. You can get discounts off of tickets for family and friends. Then there's obviously merchandise discounts, food and beverage discounts, special event discounts, parking, whether parking is included or not, Max Pass, Photo Pass. I'm going to throw this up now on the screen. So this is the one of the matrices that they displayed for these tickets, and you can see each ticket type has, or the first 3 columns are passport options, and you can see, even without clicking on it, you can see there's different amount of blockout dates by the green and the gray in those calendars. And then, so the most expensive passport is on the left. That's $1,200. That, I think, is going to be a sticker shock to a lot of people that are accustomed to going to Disneyland. Even with the most expensive Disneyland annual pass, $1,200 seems to me to be kind of a sticker shock compared to what they were paying. But this takes into account that you need park reservations, so it looks like the park pass concept that is currently being used at Walt Disney World is going to have to be used in some way, shape, or form at Disneyland for the foreseeable future. And so the different passport levels, the most expensive passport obviously gives you a longer reservation window of 90 days, and the cheaper passports, the second and third column are cheaper passports. Their reservation window is only 60 days. How many days worth of reservations you can have at a time? There's options now. What's weird is that the most expensive passport only gives you an option for 2 reservations at a time. The second column, which is only $399, that's like the cheapest one. That column gives you the option for 4 reservations at a time. And then the middle tier passport gives you the option for 6 reservations at a time. Then they have this concept of anytime reservations. Anytime reservations, I think, are last minute. I'm not entirely sure what they're like last minute reservations that you can make even though you only hold, or even though you already hold your maximum number of reservations. So the most expensive passport gets 2 of those a year. Then I talked about the blockout day tickets, and as you might expect, the cheapest passport does not let you in any blockout days. It also has the most blockout days of any option here. The other 2 passports essentially gives you admission on 2 blockout days a year. So your choice, but I think the blockout days still don't include like major holidays like Christmas and Easter and New Year's Eve. I think those are still blocked out regardless of whether you have these blockout day tickets. The friends and family ticket, you get a discount on tickets for people you're taking to the park with you. That makes sense. That's something that is kind of a no-brainer, and I'm really surprised they haven't done that in the past. And then there's merchandise discounts. Now here's another weird thing. So the cheapest passport at $399 gets a 30% merchandise discount, the same as the $1,200 pass. But the middle tier pass at $799 only gets a 20% merchandise discount. To me, do they think, well, if you're rich enough to be able to afford the $1,200 pass, you're going to spend a lot on merchandise, so you want a discount. And then if you don't want to spend that much on a pass and you're only spending $399 on a pass, well, maybe they'll get the rest of the money from you through merchandise if they give you a big discount. And then somehow in the middle tier, you're somewhere in the middle. I don't know what they're thinking. This is somewhat mind-boggling. But then again, now you look at the next line, the most expensive pass only gets a 20% discount on food and beverage, and the 2 cheaper passes get 30% discounts. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. They have this special event ticket discount option, but none of the passes get a special event ticket discount. Again, this is just like one page of that survey, but for anybody who's analytical enough to look at this and spend the time actually trying to understand the options and think about which pass they would actually buy, I can't believe that looking at this for the first time and then being able to answer the question of whether you would buy this pass or not in a survey that you're really only expecting to take like 10 to 20 minutes max. This is way too complicated, I think, for most people to do in a 10-minute survey. It's kind of like this is something that they should put all the options on the table and let you pick the one you want, and almost kind of regardless of the price, right? Like if you get a pass that has the options that you need, it would probably be worth more to you than a pass that doesn't. And so it's almost like they should start talking about what options do you want in a pass before they start giving you 3 to pick from with different price points and saying, how many of these would you buy? How many of those would you buy? And like if you're a family, I would assume that most families are going to go all together. So the fact that, why are they asking if I'd buy one of the top level ones and one of the bottom level ones? The bottom level ones have more blockout dates. I mean, I guess if you're like a blogger and you're going to go all the time, then you need a top level one. and maybe the rest of your family can deal with the blockout dates and doesn't really care. But, and then you get down to parking. The most expensive pass doesn't have parking included. Is that because they think like you got enough money to buy that pass? You probably have a chauffeur. Like, what's the thinking there? I don't get it. At least all the passes have Max Pass included, which is good. Max Pass is very useful. They all have Photo Pass included, which at least makes sense simply because that's essentially free. It's a free perk that Disney can give out. And then there's this option for a dedicated entrance. Now, of course, the chart that we see has none of the 3 passes on that chart have an option, are able to get that perk of a dedicated entrance, but obviously that's something they're thinking about. And the same with a rewards program. What boggles my mind is that, and we've talked about this in the past on this show, that, Disneyland and Disney World can't track what you buy based on your pass because they don't swipe it, right? So now they're going to implement some kind of rewards program. This is probably like 15 years too late. It might be good that they're finally doing it, but if they were going to try to track your purchases to see how much you spend and give you a rewards program based on that, I think, like I said, that's something other companies have been doing for like 10 years now. And Disney is finally just like thinking about it. But it's kind of like, if I were running this kind of survey, I would put out little buckets of questions. It's really hard to put out this many options and ask people which they would like. Plus, there's more. Like I said, there's more than this. So how can you compare like these 3 passports, and then there's another screen with different ones on it, and it asks you to compare those too? Like they clearly don't know how to design surveys. And somebody in the chat said this a while ago. What they're trying to do is make this survey so confusing and inconclusive that they just basically do everything that they want to do anyway, and claim it was by guest demand. I firmly believe that's what they're doing with this. That there's going to be so many random answers on this survey. That they're going to say, well, we can't tell anything from the survey. Let's just do what we wanted to do to begin with. So that's my thought with this. What is everybody else's thought?
Well, I think
going to Disneyland Paris.
This always happens
Shannon.
whenever we have a new panel, and I don't call on anybody, and it's kind of amusing.
I know.
And I really shouldn't do that.
First.
But go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, well, you hit the nail on the head. That there's no way that this survey was effective to serve its purpose, number one. Number two, none of this screams to me locals, which are the people who are going to be buying this passport, right? There's a totally different demographic of people buying Disneyland pass holders than Disney World. So where are the, after hour people who are getting off work and who just pop in? Do the discounts really even apply to them? Because do those people really buy merch and food? And also thinking about this, we always joke about because money. From an operation perspective, the amount of time that you're going to have to invest in training your people to understand all of these nitty-gritty details is ridiculous. No one's going to be able to, people are going to have tons of questions. Your customer service reps or guest relations aren't going to be equipped to handle them because you got 10 choices to choose from. And I can't see this happening in any way, shape, or form.
That's a good point. This actually, when Magic Your Way tickets came out, whatever it was, 15 years ago, and there were all those different options, and people were really confused. And it took a long time for both the guests and the cast members to understand the options on a Magic Your Way ticket, and this, I think, is worse. So that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No. The last thing I was going to say was, why are we including the reservation system in it? I understand that that's going to be a necessity when the park opens at limited capacity, but I feel like it's adding this level of confusion. Okay, this one you get 6 days, but then you get the 120-day window, and then you get this extra day that you can use for your blackout. The whole thing is bizarre. Let's keep it simple. This is what you get for your money, and then worry about the park pass reservations next. I just think that was unnecessary to include at this point in time.
Yeah. All right, Mike, what do you think?
So before I looked at the survey, I just thought in my head, what do I think Disney would do based on, they kept calling it memberships. And the first thing that came to my mind was they're going to look for like a subscription reoccurring revenue model. So I thought they were going to come out with some kind of, hey, here's, a flat rate. You pay this much a month for a certain term to get this. And the second bullet point I had is there'll be lots of a la carte convoluted options for upgrades. So yeah. I wasn't spot on what they offered, but that chart is exactly what that is. It's a convoluted jump mess where it's really hard to discern which column is better. Is this column better? No. That's column better? No. Well, I just better take them all. And I really think when this all shakes out, it's going to come to a point where they're going to make it hard for you to have a value choice. It's just going to be, I feel like I'm missing out, so I'm going to buy the highest tier of membership.
Yep, that's a great point too. Yep, I see that.
So,
Axel, your thoughts besides I'm just going to go to Paris?
I honestly, and so what happened, and I'm going to very briefly say, like, I was looking into getting cable or maybe do something online. So I looked into YouTube TV, I clicked it, and then there was a whole menu, like, do you want to add this, 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 this? And I think that, it's 2021, and it's, like we said, you have your basic passes, but then they should give you the option to choose your own add-ons. And with add-ons, you can have like parking. That's a very basic one. Do you want to add it or not? This is the value for parking. But like here in Walt Disney World, Tables in Wonderland is an extra to buy separately. But what if they can say like, hey, monthly, this will cost you this much to have 20% off food and alcohol. And if you want photo pass, you're going to pay this. If you want, and have like all these sub menus where you can basically create your own pass, your own membership. And for the love of God, they can throw in Disney Plus and ESPN and Hulu for I don't care. But they have everything in-house. So I think we're running behind with like, oh, these are your options. No, just give like, you have your basics, that many blockout dates, that many blockout dates, that many blockout dates, and then all your add-ons.
Yeah, so that's really, I think, essentially like what the Magic Your Way ticket system was. You pick the length of your ticket, and then do you want a park hopping add-on? Do you want the water parks add-on? That kind of stuff. It's really funny that you said they could throw in a Disney Plus subscription, because that would require two different divisions of the company to talk with each other, and I don't think that happens. So honestly, if that was an option, I guarantee the way that would shake out would be you get a gift card in the mail for Disney Plus. Because that way the ticket people could just buy gift cards from the Disney Plus division and send them to the people that sign up for that option. That's how they would have to implement that, because they're not technologically on top of things enough to do it any other way. But that's kind of an aside. I think your idea of a sort of menu of add-ons to the basic, the base pass is probably makes the most sense. And if that's the way they put that survey out there, Kevin Frazier, thanks Kevin for the super chat. That's great. He's happy that we've gotten new panelists, and yes, I will keep doing with the rants, because this almost feels like a rant in any way. But the idea that you start with a base and then you add on the things you want. Like, what if you're there by yourself and you're not the photogenic kind of person, so PhotoPass does nothing for you, right? Obviously, they're going to try to make you add that on because, like, as I said before, it costs them nothing to do. But the other options like MaxPass is an option. I mean, that was something that existed as a separate priced add-on to annual passes, before. Now it's included. That's fine. But obviously they have a value associated with MaxPass because they charged for it individually before. So that could be an a la carte option to add on to your base pass. And then the number of blockout dates you want. You obviously pay more for more blockout dates.
There's technology enough where you can have all your options, and then when you think you're done, like Domino's Pizza, you order something, you think you're done, boom, next page, do you want dessert? They can do that as well.
Yeah.
Like next page, hey, are you sure about that PhotoPass? Because with all the options you've chosen, now it's only half the price. Which might say, like, okay, half the price, I'll click it. So there's definitely, if freaking Domino's Pizza can do it, they can
you
do
would
it as
think
well.
the Walt Disney Company could do it, right? You would think that, but you might be surprised.
Nah.
But yeah, so I think, the a la carte thing makes a lot of sense. It's also interesting that they put that option on there for like a dedicated entrance, because at this point, like, I don't know where the dedicated entrance would be. I mean, there's possibility for a dedicated entrance for California Adventure. That's kind of already built in with the Grand Californian, but there's also the gate that's next to La Brea Bakery that they could use as a pass holder entrance. But for Disneyland, I don't know where they'd put a dedicated entrance. That'd be kind of tricky. But
Like they did at Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
Just one turnstile. There you go. This is your entrance, and
so
you
that's
have a dedicated entrance.
Right, and so that's the way it's done in Walt Disney World with the pass holder entrance too, that really no one pays attention to, and all kinds of people go in the pass holder entrance only. So, I could certainly see people getting annoyed if they paid for that option, right? Like in Florida, it's included in all the passes. If you're in California and that's an extra add-on price, and then there's all these people just going in that line because it's short, I could absolutely see people getting annoyed with that. With that happening. You paid for this perk, and other people are just taking advantage of it because they're acting like they don't know what's going on. And so
in my perspective, this is still okay. I remember in when they changed the annual passes in Disneyland Paris, the highest tier, when they went from 200 euros to 400, which was already a whole thing in Paris, they give you so many options. You had a dedicated parking spot. You could go to hotel swimming pools. There was so much that, yes, you had a dedicated, parking spot, parking lot.
Oh, all right. Not like they put your name on the sign.
No, I tried to pay for that, didn't work. But and then the same thing happened with the swimming pools, all that. They could not keep that up. They couldn't. It was just too much. I remember when I started, the annual pass in Paris years ago allowed you to park at any hotel parking lot. They had to take that away as well. So
because it was getting abused.
Company...
But did they take those things away because they were getting abused, or because like the cast members couldn't figure out who was actually entitled to that perk or not?
No, I think because I started to abuse them, they stopped.
Okay, so it's your fault. That's fine. That's what I figured. So the next question with all of this is, and I've seen people in the chat talk a lot about locals, and Shannon, you mentioned locals, and people in chat mentioned locals and buying merchandise. So I think it's a pretty well-known fact that most of the pass holders that had passes to Disneyland were locals, and that's a very much higher percentage than in Florida. But also, I think Disney new, and they had done this years ago when they jacked up the prices a number of years ago, like a tremendous price increase, that they needed to get rid of locals. There were too many locals crowding the parks in order for people that paid full price and are paying full price to stay at the Disneyland Hotel. The parks were too crowded for them to have an enjoyable trip, right? And so they needed a way to cull the number of pass holders, and certainly jacking up prices back then did it. It looks like they're going to do that again. But we talked last week how the monthly payment plan really essentially caters to the locals. And so, it's like one end of the company says, well, we have too many pass holders, let's jack up the prices. And then a different arm of the company, the accountants, say, well, we could probably get more revenue if we let them pay monthly because they won't know how much it's actually costing them. So it's like, again, there's no sort of unified idea of what they're trying to accomplish. And the other thing that interests me about this survey is that they're talking about these things. They're showing a calendar with blockout dates. They're giving you a price that's essentially the same as an annual pass. But yet they came out and said the annual passes are going to be retired. So is this, are they just calling it something different? Or is this going to be a membership program? I mean, to me, a membership program is like a monthly subscription price that you can start or cancel at any time. But yet this survey is putting things out there that look exactly like annual passes. There's no mention of any kind of membership or membership fee or monthly fee to this membership. It looks just like an annual pass. And so here again, I said this last week, they got rid of the annual passes. They're telling people they're gone. It looks like they're just going to bring them right back. And isn't that like a PR nightmare that they made this statement that they're getting rid of annual passes, and then they're just going to bring them back? Like, that's kind of moronic. Why not say, we're going to cancel all the current passes like Tokyo did. We're going to cancel all the current passes simply because there's too much uncertainty, and when the parks reopen, then we'll roll out a new, slate of pass options. That's fine. Saying that they're going to sunset the pass program and then survey people on options that are exactly like the pass holder program is kind of dumb.
Going to a membership model is going to be tricky because, if you think about how a lot of us vacation, we may go 2 or 3 years. So being able to cancel and re-up would be a revenue killer.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Disney World. So if it's going to be any kind of subscription type service, I think it's going to have a term tied to it, where it's going to be, you're going to have to sign up for at least this much of the plan for this long. And like a lot of subscription services, you can always upgrade anytime at that point, but you can never downgrade during that term. And so, I mean, to me, I'm sure that's what they want. I think the backlash would be incredible from, the public outcry of this, I can't cancel, I got to pay monthly, I can upgrade but can't downgrade. But just from a revenue standpoint, unless they're selling a pass again, they're going to have to tie people into some kind of term if they go to a membership
and
or
I think
subscription.
What I think, looking at this survey, right, is that it looks like, to me, what would make some kind of sense is that you pay whatever the price is for the first year. And then if you want to keep going, you can pay monthly to keep it going. And after a year, then you can cancel it whenever you want. But then if you want to rejoin, you got to pay that full year price up front and join for a year again. That kind of idea, I think, maybe would make sense. But, I mean, I know there's people, and I used to do this myself, where, when my kids were smaller, we would go at the end of August, right before school started. And so one year, we would go the last week in August. And then the next year, we'd go the week before that, right? And get 2 years' worth of trips out of one pass. Well, so essentially, if you do the same thing with the annual pass, you buy in for a year, and then you could extend it a month. You could pay monthly and just go one more month and get 2 trips out of one pass, essentially. Or you could extend it 2 or 3 months and get 2 trips out of a 15-month sort of subscription. But, if you cancel, then you have to start over with a minimum 1 year. That, to me, would make a lot of sense. Maybe that's where they're going. It's not clear from this survey, that's for sure. It's probably not where they're going just because it makes a lot of sense. But that's one thing that I was thinking of when they talk about this membership program, is that, there's a minimum term, and then after that, it's like a cell phone plan. You have to sign up for a 2-year contract, and then after that, you go month to month until you cancel it.
So if they throw in a D23 membership, I'll do it.
They can't, because that's, again, a whole different division of the company. There's no way they could do that. Nope, not going to happen.
It's one company.
It's pretty
company.
amazing that
It's all
D23
an
can
illusion.
actually, D23 gives you discounts to Shop Disney, because they're kind of under the same umbrella of the company. But D23 doesn't give you any kind of park discounts. They let you buy merchandise, but there's no park discounts, because that's too convoluted from 2 different arms of the company.
And what I was going to say is, I know this is kind of a moot point now, but some kind of extra magic hour or something to entice people like myself who are only coming, every once in a while, because I experienced that time when it was overrun with locals. I had to pick and choose, shamefully did not even get on Pirates or Haunted Mansion, because I was only there for 3 days and it was so insane. I did have one magical moment where I was standing in front of Radiator Racers, or I believe what it's called, Cars Land,
Racers,
and yes, yep. And I was standing there talking to my husband, and I was saying, this is not something we have in Disney World. Should we just bite the bullet, wait the 2 hours? And the cast member overheard me and gave me a fast pass, if you will. So that was great. But one thing I really wanted to do, just to have like a free ride, if you will, was the monorail. I know the monorail is a completely different situation in Disneyland, but I wanted to just enjoy a loop. And sure. I got on down at Downtown Disney Station, and when I got to Tomorrowland, they made me get off.
They made you get off, yep.
There were so many people, and I'm like, this isn't even a ride.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to just stay on a ride.
You did the loop the wrong direction.
Fix the problem.
You should have started the loop in Tomorrowland, because then there's nobody at Downtown Disney. Yeah, but you're exactly right that it's been overrun with locals for a long time, and so that's clearly a problem, and I think they know that. I think they absolutely know that, and I think that's probably one of the primary goals of this new pass system, is to have fewer pass holders, or at least fewer locals. I think for out-of-state passes, they could care less how many of those they sell, because those people don't come all the time. I also just wanted to mention, because this was something I was going to say earlier, people in the chat were talking about locals and merchandise and the merchandise discounts, right? So, there's obviously different kind of people, and so there's obviously some people that go to the parks because they love the parks, and they don't buy stuff because it would just get too expensive. And then there's nut jobs like Tom Corliss and myself that go to the parks and buy everything, and he's a local and I'm not a local, but we still go and buy all kinds of stuff. And then you've got the resellers that go every day and buy as much as they can to put on eBay. So they're obviously locals. But, at the same time, those are locals that can't really afford to deal with blockout dates, simply because if a piece of merchandise drops and they can't go get it because they're blocked out, that's revenue for them, right? Like, if that's their business, that's their livelihood, even though I think it's a terrible thing, people do it. And they're going to have to pay for the more expensive pass to avoid blockout dates, just so that they could keep going and buying stuff. But again, we talked before about how Disney should really be able to track what you buy like Universal does. And if they did, they could spot the resellers pretty quickly.
You just gave Disney a great idea now to release all merchandise on blackout dates.
Or blackout
now
dates,
you're
right?
force,
Yeah,
yeah.
like some
You
of
just
those.
gave them a great.
Yeah, like some of the passes have like every Saturday blocked out, and maybe they should just do Saturday merchandise releases, right? Like locals could go on Saturdays if they had the expensive pass, but that not the cheap pass. And then maybe that's why the expensive pass has a lower merchandise discount, because that's the only one that lets you get in on Saturdays. But if you get in on Saturdays, you don't get a merch discount because you're probably a reseller. Like, if they actually put that much thought into it, I would be flabbergasted. But, somebody in the chat, Mike in the chat says, KJack says, Disney doesn't care if it goes to the resellers at all, which is true. They sell it one way or the other. So that's absolutely true. And they certainly don't have the capability to sell it themselves online because, Shop Disney is a disaster, which is something we'll get to a little later in the show. But so, I mean, at this point, the thing, what I also think about this survey that's really interesting is what this might mean for Walt Disney World annual passes, right? Like, there's some things on this survey. Let me throw it up here again. There's some things on this survey that could be really interesting if they could implement them at Walt Disney World. And one of them is the fact that different pass levels have different numbers of reservations you could hold at a time. So right now, any pass holder at Walt Disney World, no matter what level, can hold 3 park reservations at a time, 3 days. Right here, different pass levels have different numbers of reservations they can hold at a time, and different reservation windows. Right, so reservation windows are a really interesting thing because there are people who, if you look at the park availability calendar that somehow absurdly goes till like next year, October 1st, the 50th anniversary, is fully booked at the Magic Kingdom already. So, those people are clearly not annual pass holders because none of the passes go through October. Some people I had heard were able to buy like a renewal pass way earlier than normal and somehow be able to get park pass reservations for that date. But I mean, think about how many people don't even know if they're going on October 1st and haven't booked a hotel yet. They're going to have to do something with those park passes for hotel guests. But in any case, thinking about the fact that some pass levels give you the ability to have more reservations at a shot at one time than others, that's really interesting. The whole blockout day tickets is really interesting, and this would have been, for me, something that would have come in actually very handy because last year, when I was down for Thanksgiving, no, was it Thanksgiving? No, it was December. It was when I was down in December, right before Christmas. I was there from like Thursday to Sunday, and Thursday was not a blockout day on my pass, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were blockout days. And I had all of Friday open, and I absolutely would have gone to the parks if I could. I wasn't allowed to upgrade my pass, so I couldn't pay more to get a pass that didn't have blockout dates. And so there was no way for me to get into the park short of buying a single day ticket. But if they had the option for blockout day tickets along with the pass, that would have been great. Because I could have just used one of those blockout day tickets to get in that day. I was the only one that was there. I was absolutely willing to go to a park. I ended up going to Universal that day instead. So shove it, Disney. It's like you didn't let me give you money to upgrade my pass to go to your park, so instead I went to Universal. And if that's not something that their accountants can figure out how to fix, then I feel bad for them because that's clearly revenue lost. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I was willing to give them money, and they didn't want it. They didn't let me give them money to go into their park and then buy things and spend more money. So instead I went to Universal and I bought things there.
if they're going to make changes to Disney World passes, they're going to have to do it, I think, before they start reselling them, because
I think so
you know,
too.
they have the perfect chance here to wipe the slate clean, you know, at Disneyland, and
Yep.
I think that this is going to be the experiment to see what they do before they start releasing passes back out in the wild again.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely, I agree. And I think the same thing applies to like Fast Pass, right? So Disneyland has Max Pass. It's a paid thing. You know, you can still get Fast Passes for rides. Um, this is absolutely the opportunity for Walt Disney World to implement the same kind of thing, where you know Fast Pass becomes a paid option. And I think, you know, from the perspective of an accountant, where hey, we can start charging for Fast Passes if we call it Max Pass. And then you know from the point of view of a guest, where they're not giving out free fast passes to a billion people, so the standby lines are going to move so much faster now. Like that's a win-win all the way around, right? Like fast pass, people like fast pass because they can do things with no wait. The people that don't like fast pass are the ones that can't or didn't know about it or weren't able to utilize it, and so they kind of got shut out and had to stand in egregiously long standby lines. And what we're seeing now, like if you look this week when the parks were not very crowded, Runaway Railway had a 20-minute wait, Flight of Passage had a 20-minute wait. I don't know when I've seen, other than like the third day in July that Animal Kingdom was actually open, I don't think I've ever seen a 20-minute wait for Flight of Passage in my life. And so, but that's the kind of thing when there's not, you know, tens of thousands of fast passes given out for a day, that kind of thing can happen. And so the fact is that I think if, you know, while there's no more fast passes, put it this way, if they didn't implement some kind of paid fast pass system, I would be super surprised, simply because it's a revenue source. And if there's one thing that the Disney park accountants are good at, it's finding new revenue sources. And they've already put it into place at Disneyland, and it's clearly working because they continue to talk about it in these surveys, right? So
And people will pay.
It's on the list.
Shorter lines.
I don't know if you've ever seen this commercial video about the Walt Disney World Resort. It's this cast member singing on Disney tunes about what staying at a Disney Resort hotel offers you. So the Magical Express is still on there. That's gone. Free Magic Bands are still on there. That's gone. Fast Pass Plus will be gone soon as well. You don't have a tram in the parking lot anymore. So it's the next logical step. And honestly, if I had to choose tomorrow and they would say like, hey, Fast Pass is a paying option, but you can get the Magical Express back, hey, I would go for the Magical Express if I only had a choice. But we won't be offered that choice, and it will be a paying option. On the other hand, look at Universal. I mean, their Express Pass is paying as well, and everybody's still using it. And there's no talk about Fast Passes or any other tickets, and
Right.
it works.
Right. Penguin Project in the chat is asking me to clarify that is what I'm saying, that Fast Pass causes longer wait times. Well, it absolutely does. If you have a Fast Pass, that means people in the standby line have to wait longer because you cut in front of them in line. And I honestly think the Express Pass at Universal, even though it's absurdly expensive, is still popular enough that people do it, and is maybe, I think there's a middle ground. I think there's a middle ground between Fast Pass Plus that's free to everybody and Express Pass that costs the same as a ticket to the park. I think there's a middle ground. I think that middle ground is probably something akin to Max Pass. I think Fast Pass worked pretty well. Fast Pass for a long, long time did what it was supposed to do, which was, let people have more time to spend in the stores and restaurants and spend more money. Once they moved to FastPass Plus, where you had to book it days in advance, and everybody who had a park ticket could do it days in advance, what happened was they ended up having to come up with a way to increase the availability. They increased the number of available fast passes so dramatically that they gave rides that don't need it fast pass, just so that they could give people an option to book a fast pass. And that's why you get people that book fast passes for like the most absurd rides, because that was all that was available. But they were entitled to it, so they had to make a way that they could do it. And like Haunted Mansion is an example, where Haunted Mansion, the line generally moves fast enough that you don't need a fast pass. But they had to give it fast pass because they needed to give out more fast passes, because it was open and available to way too many people. And so
Same with Pirates.
I mean,
Pirates was another example.
Right. Pirates was never a long wait. I mean, maybe like on Christmas Day, but Pirates was never a long wait until FastPass Plus came around. And then they had to start inventing other ways, like the reserve seating for fireworks and illuminations, right? Like that was a way where they could give out thousands of fast passes to people who, were entitled to something, and there was no other option available. So it was kind of like, they had to come up with these random ways to give out fast passes because everybody wanted them all of a sudden, because they were free, and they opened up the eligibility to such a wide audience, and the parks just weren't designed to handle that. So yeah, there's got to be a middle ground, and I think I think that's something they realize. I mean, with Josh D'Amaro,
from like a marketing
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, from a marketing perspective, I think, Disney could keep away from the bad press if they rolled out and said, we're sunsetting FastPass Plus and rolling out this new and exciting Max Pass that's been so great at Disneyland. Because I think if you said, hey, I've got Fast Passes and now we're charging, I think the PR blowback from the casual fan would be a lot higher. But if you say that's going away because of all the problems and you have to plan, and we're bringing in this much better spontaneous system, I think they could get away with a lot there in the PR department of charging, actually basically charging for a fast pass now.
Yeah. Michael makes a point in like when they had fast passes for Journey into Imagination. Like, there's a perfect example of a ride that A, nobody wants to go on, B, Eric Idle doesn't even remember filming his parts for that ride. He's never been on it, and yet Disney's giving out fast passes for that ride like it's a perk that you need to get a fast pass, because this attraction is just so popular and the wait times will be so extremely long if you don't get a fast pass. I couldn't come up with a better example. Thank you, Michael. It's kind of like, it's that. Drew says, I'm surprised that Shanghai didn't get Fast Pass Plus. Shanghai does their version of paid fast passes. I used it when I was there. You could pay, I think we ended up paying, it was like $7 or $8 for a fast pass for Pirates, just because that was the longest wait in the park. And you go in their app, you pay the money, you get the fast pass, you get in line, and you go. And that's all it was. They had it for Pirates, they had it for Tron, and it worked great because you could decide, is 8 hours. Tim is saying his 7-year-old daughter said I'm rude because of her Figment ride. I'm sorry, it's a ride that your daughter likes. You probably should have never taken her on it. I'm just kidding. I get it. I like the ride. Figment's a great character. I wish he didn't have such a bad ride. I wish they came up with a better ride to put Figment in.
They tried to, they didn't try. They implemented it in Paris as well. A paying fast pass option where you had like each ride you could do once, and then there was an unlimited pass. And I always joked about like FastPass is still free in Paris. Who's going to do that? And like a friend of ours says, like it doesn't even take 2 hours before we sell out of them
Yeah.
completely.
I mean, it's just like
It's like
Express Pass at
families come
Universal,
in,
right?
put the money there, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, there's people that will make the value calculation, right? Like, is it worth? I'm in Shanghai for 3 days. Is it
Yeah.
worth me to take an hour to wait in line for Pirates, an hour out of my day when the parks are only open 10 hours a day? Is it worth it to spend essentially 1/10 of my day waiting in line for this attraction, or just spend the $8 and avoid that line and take my hour and go do something else with that hour that I save? That's a value calculation that's different for every person. But the fact that it exists and is an option means that you can you can determine whether that's a value that's enough for you to spend the money. And to me, that's kind of, I mean, in the macro view of all this, a park ticket that's $200 on Christmas and $100 on January 11th is another value calculation that everybody has to make, right? Like, I'm going at Christmas. Is it worth it to me, to go to Disney World? Am I really interested enough to go to Disney World to pay essentially double the price because I'm there at Christmas? That's a value calculation that people make. So this idea of a paid fast pass is just like Express Pass at Universal, where people can decide whether they want to pay it or not. And just like Fast Pass Plus, there are certainly people that can't take advantage of Fast Pass Plus, either because they don't know it exists, or they don't have the app, or this is their first time coming to Disney, or they're staying off property, or whatever, right? Like, there's plenty of people that can't take advantage of that, but still can ride the ride by hopping in the standby line. And so when you charge for a Fast Pass, it's not taking anything away from people that are entitled to ride a ride. It's basically asking you, what's your time worth? And different people have different, values on their time. If you're a local, you're not going to do it because you could just come back a different day. But like,
Jason,
Shannon was in
time
Disneyland. Like, when Shannon, you were in Disneyland, you probably would have paid $8 to ride Pirates. Right?
100%.
So there you go.
With that, I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Because you only had 3 days there. So there you go. Is there a time attached to the Max Pass? Is that what you were asking?
Well, so when you paid for the Pirates Fast Pass in Shanghai, was there a time window? Because that's my biggest problem is I don't like booking the 60 days out because I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, I got a Fast Pass for Peter Pan at 2:00. Do I know if I'm going to be there?
Yeah.
So when you're paying for these, are they any time?
I don't honestly remember if there was a time, but we just bought it right before we were going to use it. So it's not like they sold out. I mean, I guess they could have sold out. It wasn't really crowded when we were there. I guess they could sell out, but the number of people that were buying them was small enough that they never sold out. So we just bought it right before we were going to use it.
So you buy it and you can go right on the ride. You don't have to go back.
Yeah, no, you just do it in the app and you buy it and you go right on. And I think, it probably would have been good for the rest of the day. I don't remember a time restriction on it. It kind of would make sense that it's good till the rest of the day, because if you paid for it and then something happened, it's you actually paid for it as opposed to it's free. So if you lose it, well, too bad, kind of thing.
So in theory, paid Fast Pass could greatly diminish the demand, not just because they cost money, but like you mentioned, locals. I mean, a local now would probably not opt into buying Fast Passes, where today,
Yep.
Hey, I booked a Fast Pass for Thursday, so let's go to the park on Thursday, and we'll go ride something. So it could dramatically decrease the demand, which would again help the standby lines because you don't have to give out as many fast passes.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, it's the same thing. It's very analogous to what the Rise of the Resistance boarding group process did when they changed its starting time to 7 a.m. is that all of these locals stayed home because you could get a boarding group before you got to the park. And so if you were a local with a park pass that day and you didn't get a boarding group, you didn't go, or you went to some other park or whatever. So it greatly diminished the crowds at Hollywood Studios at opening, simply because all these people who couldn't get boarding groups just didn't bother to show up. So I mean, that was a tremendous effect on the crowd levels at Hollywood Studios at opening. It was remarkable how easy it was to get into Hollywood Studios at opening time when you didn't have 10,000 people trying to get in before 10 a.m. in order to get a boarding group. It was a remarkable change. I can't believe they didn't figure that out sooner. It was such a remarkable change. They must have saved so much money in extra personnel for security and turnstiles and everything to accommodate tens of thousands of people trying to get in before the park opened. I can't believe it took them that long to come up with that plan. But again, I think that's kind of what Max Pass would do is you know, if you're like, well, you know, I'm happy to go to the parks and walk around and not ride rides, or you know, go on things like the Mark Twain or something that you know, I don't need to worry about crowds for, then that's great. And let the people that are tourists who are only there 1 week or it's their first time ever, you know, and they're staying on property, so they get, you know, people that stay on property could get 3 fast passes a day for free or something. Like, talk about a perk that makes you want to stay at a Disney resort. 3 free fast passes that otherwise would cost, you know, $20 a person, right? Like that. If you got a family of 4, that's $80 of value that you get by staying at a Disney resort that no one else gets if they give you 3 free fast passes. And they don't have to be the ones you book 60 days in advance. It could be you book them when you get to the park, but it costs everybody else $7. But for you, it's free because you're a resort guest. I mean, they're taking away almost every other perk of being a resort guest with no more Magical Express and no more early. Well, the early entry is still there. There's no evening extra magic hours anymore. So I mean, look at that in terms of you could actually put a dollar value on what 3 fast passes would be worth to you if you're a resort guest. And so, you know, there's so many good ideas here that you know, they've had 6 months to think through it. Maybe they're finally coming up with some of these good ideas that it took us like an hour to come up with. But anyway, you know, there's options. And I think it's good that they're looking at these options because, honestly, I think the way that things were before COVID, it really was an untenable situation. I mean, the parks were so crowded and the lines were so long and there were so many people that had fast passes. And, like, Disneyland was so crowded that no one wanted to go. That really was getting to and it didn't even matter that they raised ticket prices. It was still horrendously crowded. And that was getting to a point where I think it was something had to give. And it just so happened that COVID, and now there's no fast passes, and now they have all this time to think about how do we re-implement these things in a way that doesn't overcrowd the parks.
And still keep the revenue stream at the same rate.
Or increase the revenue stream, right?
Or increase, like, yes.
That's certainly the case, you know? So, yeah. Any other thoughts on this Disneyland annual pass idea or what it might mean for Walt Disney World? I mean, when they're going to start selling passes in Walt Disney World again, I don't know. I mean, luckily they still let you renew. So it's not a huge, it's not a huge concern for me. it's a problem when I want to take my family, because they don't have annual passes, and so I was able to buy my family annual passes to Universal. So if I take my family to Florida again and there's still not annual passes available at Walt Disney World, we'll probably just go to Universal again. I mean, my kids love Volcano Bay more than anything at Walt Disney World. The last time we went, that was we could go and spend 3 days at Volcano Bay, and they'd be happier than spending 3 days at any Disney park. Completely honest. So,
Jason, I did figure out the first step they need to make for those new annual passes,
yeah.
and I think it's opening the park. I don't know. We could talk another hour, but if the park closes, like, hey, nothing we can do.
No, right. Well, unfortunately, it's not up to them. I'm not going to get into politics because that's always bad, and the chat ends up being problematic. So we're not going to talk about anything. We're just going to let that go and move on to the next topic, which is cookies.
Yes.
Oh, yay.
So here's an absurd thing. A cookie store opens, and people wait in a 12-hour-long virtual queue for cookies. That happened. It wasn't even, the store had been open before that. The store had been open in December, right? It wasn't even the very first day. So we're talking about Gideon's Bakehouse, which Axel went to this morning on the live stream and spent hundreds of dollars of WDWNT money on cookies. There's his box. That
if you mean by WDWNT money, some super chats, yes.
And that's not even the actual Gideon's box. It's just a stamp on a plain cardboard box because they didn't get the actual boxes in yet.
Looks like a burger.
It looks like a burger or like a hockey puck or something. Yeah. I hope it's not as hard as.
Will that be on eBay later?
This is Axel's actual.
What do you mean?
cookie.
What do you mean? What do you mean later? It's already on there.
But I mean, people waited 10 hours in line to ride Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure when it opened. The reason the line was 10 hours was because the ride was plagued with problems, much like Rise of the Resistance when it first opened. Although nowadays Universal has seemed to gotten the maintenance issues under control, unlike Rise of the Resistance. Gideon's had a virtual queue return time of 12 hours. Now, I have to assume that if you went and got in the virtual queue for 12 hours, you were going to go do something else. And then go back to Gideon's later, right? Like you weren't gonna walk around Disney Springs for 12 hours waiting for your return time for cookies.
Well, I mean, I would say that, and honestly, that it would depend. I know the first time that our good friend Eric Morton got a Gideon's return time, it was 3 or 4 hours. Like he stuck around in Disney Springs. Now, just imagine that you're going to Disney Springs because it's the last day of your vacation. You don't have park passes or you don't have tickets, and that's it. Are you going to go back to your hotel? What if you stay at an, I don't know, rental place that's far away? Are you going to go home? What are you going to do? 12 hours. It's a long time. Now, the thing that I don't get with the 12 hours, in approximately 47 minutes, you're at the original Gideon's Bakery, where you can buy everything you want.
Yeah.
Same cookies. Because so to be clear, and one of the lovely cast members crew members, what you call them at Gideon's, bake members, they confirmed us that, I mean, everything is still being baked off property and then brought in. In the morning, they do have some ovens on location for like urgencies. But the gross of things, most of the stuff still being baked at the original place and then being brought in.
So you're actually getting cookies that are older.
Yes.
You could get
And have
fresher
traveled.
ones.
So, did you have to actually be in Disney Springs to get into the virtual queue?
You
They don't
did.
ship them.
No, but you
Oh, you mean
had
the cookies? No, the queue. Yes.
you had to go
Yes.
there
So okay,
to
so
get the virtual queue, right? A virtual queue.
queue,
And so,
and then go, then leave. Okay.
So Tippy Toes in the chat said they had free stuff, so that's why there was the line, which is true. They were giving out like lithographs. So they had the Gideon's logo printed on a sheet of paper, and they only had like 100, right? So anybody that was a 12-hour wait was not getting a lithograph, or what I call a printout from the laser printer in their office.
Probably.
So yeah, there was like T-shirts or something. That's fine. I think you could buy a Gideon's T-shirt. The other thing that's amazing, and who was it? Oh, Steve said in the chat, I'm giving way too much credit for people. Half probably waited around to be called just so they could complain about it, which is true. The other thing that's mind-boggling to me is that, they said they're going to be limited edition cookies for that day only. And I thought, well, if there was something I was going to wait for, like if I knew what Gideon's cookies were, and I've had them before, they're good. If I knew what a Gideon's cookie was and was really, really like needing a Gideon's cookie, and they tell me we have a limited edition cookie that's available for today only, maybe I'd go and get in the virtual queue or something, or maybe I'd wait half an hour in line for a cookie, right? These cookies were not anything special. They were the regular cookies, just available in a different month from what they normally are. So, for example, the Christmas one, the white chocolate thing that Tom raves about, that's a December cookie. The fact that they just baked it in January and called it a special release for opening day is kind of ludicrous. And the Frankenstein one was the October Halloween cookie. Now, granted, you can't get them now, but it's not like a secret recipe that doesn't exist. Like, you could have gotten a Frankenstein one if you went to Gideon's in October in Orlando. So they didn't even have recipes that were special for grand opening. They just made cookies they don't normally make this month. That's all. Now, I get it if you're on vacation and you're never coming back to Orlando and you've got to die, you're going to die for a Gideon's, white chocolate cookie, maybe, but that's kind of ludicrous, I think.
I mean,
I have to admit that go ahead, Axel.
Oh no, please.
Okay. Well, as an adult or a childless millennial, as we're being called nowadays, part, or if not most of the reason why I'm still going down these days is to eat. I enjoy all the restaurants down there, and I think it's no secret that food. I mean, we look at Pleasure Island was decimated from the 90s club scene to nothing but food and drinks. But I believe, Jason, the question that you had asked initially was, why are people waiting 12 hours for this versus a new e-ticket attraction? And I think the answer is pretty simple when you look at two of the most recent new attractions. Well, number one, you can't actually wait in a line to go on the ride. You need to go through a series of steps, i.e. the boarding pass. And I think we Disney folk take for granted that we're up in the news and know how to do that. I had a friend recently who went down, who texted me, 11 a.m. on Hollywood Studios Day, and he says, how do I get on the ride? I said, you're not going to be able to get on it. It's too late. Number one. Number two, then you have another new attraction where you can wait in a line, and there is absolutely no storyline. Nothing makes sense. You're not really sure what's going on. At least a cookie, I know I'm going to have a smile on my face. It's going to leave me satisfied. So,
well,
yes.
I mean, the last thing that you said about rice was pretty harsh, but hey, anyways, with no storyline, at least, I mean, they tried. Come on.
I don't think she was talking about rice, Axel.
Honestly,
Yeah, right.
I think they did have, like, you have to give it to them. They open a cookie shop.
They're
A
geniuses.
cookie that, by the way, you could get a few months ago at the Polite Pig. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
just you can
That's
just pick
right.
it up there, get it at
Yep.
the Polite Pig. But they have this machine now where people just want to stand in line and buy their $6 cookie.
Yeah.
And you have to give it like the marketing machine and the way how they present it, and then it works. And then
Oh,
it's like,
so
okay, I pity the fool who's there, and guess who ran for that to be first one in this morning?
you.
So thank you, Eric Morton, for that. It was his
But
idea.
here's the thing. They're absolutely Gideon's is absolutely geniuses, and any company that can sell a single cookie or donut or cupcake for more than $1, you've got to give it to them, right? Like they're geniuses. Somehow they figured out how to make something that they could sell for 1,000% over their cost, and make people want it so bad that they're willing to wait 12 hours to get it. They're geniuses. They're smarter than any Disney marketing person I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, obviously, rent in Disney Springs isn't cheap, and you have to get, you have to be able to make the money to pay the rent there. But still, $6 for a cookie when now all it really is it's like an extra large cookie that then has like something coated on it, chocolate chips or M&Ms and Oreos, right? Like it's not even like a I don't I mean they're good. I don't argue that they're not good. They're kind of like you call it a cookie, but it's kind of like a giant sugar bomb. I don't know. like
A giant sugar bomb.
like what is I wouldn't call
I
that
can
a
unbox
cookie.
one for you.
There we go. Let's see.
I can
Which one
unwrap
is
one for you.
this?
Um, I don't know. It has salt on it.
Oh geez, that I don't know if that's good or not.
Oh no, it's the thing. It's a classic chocolate chip.
So that's a chocolate chip cookie that somehow has some
Yeah.
salt on it. But really, it's
Well, I don't
just
know if it's from maybe a salted caramel, but
maybe.
it's pretty big. I
But
don't
wait,
don't don't get
I
me
thought.
wrong. It's like
Oh yeah, it's
a
like
half
bigger than
pound
your head.
cookie.
Um,
And my hands are full of chocolate now.
but the question is
Sure.
I mean, it's a really good chocolate chip cookie, and then they coat it with chocolate chips. It's, I mean, it's a good idea,
Chocolate chip cookie.
right? It's a good idea, but is it worth $6? I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
let's. So this morning during the live, and then I mean, now I'm here anyways. Maybe I won't be back for another month. So a little shout out. We have a live on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So be sure to check out our lives here on this channel. So this morning during the live, we went to Gideon's and then we walked to the Aerophile and we went to Everglazed. We had this giant Oreo donut. It, big as well. I'm not saying that. We shared it with Eric, very cozy. Thank you for this one person shouting out that we were a couple. Um, that donut was 5.50. And then if I'm going to compare just like a donut, and I'm going to compare what I can have at Voodoo in Universal, I can have like a better donut for $3, $4 and not 5.50. So in the end, the experience at Everglazed is like nothing. It's like every Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donut that you walk in, there's nothing special. Granted, you're in Disney Springs, but that's it. At least the experience of Gideon's, where you walk in the old bookstore and they have like those pictures,
It's
very
well
Tim
themed,
Burton
yeah, right?
style-esque. It's beautifully themed, so it's like more, hey, let's go check it out, and we're gonna walk through, and you can share that cookie. It's just the experience. If I would need to get a donut, I mean, I probably would stop on a Krispy Kreme on the way, and I would skip Everglazed. If I would be on vacation and I have to make a call, like, am I gonna go and check out Gideon's or am I gonna go to Everglazed? Then Gideon's for the win.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're comparing Everglazed to Voodoo Donuts. I haven't had a really good donut at Voodoo. Now I've only probably had like 4 different ones, but every time I've had a Voodoo donut, it wasn't anything special to me. So if you're saying the same about Everglazed, then that doesn't surprise me.
Can somebody mute? Can somebody mute Jason, please? Are you saying?
Well, so
I mean,
here's the
voodoo is. It depends on what you get at voodoo, and it depends if they're fresh or not. I'm going
right.
to
No,
give you
I
that.
get that. I think
But
I've never had a good Voodoo donut because they haven't really been fresh, or I chose poorly. I
but
believe
the
that. I'm not. I'm
selection
totally
and the
willing to go
teaming
back.
of the donuts.
I mean, I'm totally willing
Like
to
the
go
whole
back
Gideon,
to Voodoo Donuts. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, the whole 12-hour line at Gideon's Donuts. I think that's part of the new social psyche we have of everybody wants to be the first. Everybody wants to post something on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's this intense competition amongst not just vloggers and bloggers, but just people, your friends that say, "Hey, I was there, first one. Look, I have a cookie before you do." It seems like we're conditioned like that now where people want to be first in line and first to post for everything. And I think that just fuels the fire on things like Gideon's opening up and getting a 12-hour wait. So,
Not to mention the
And that's
pandemic
a,
too, where for people like
well,
us in some other states where we've been stuck inside, I'll stand for 12 hours. I've been sitting on my couch for 365 days. So
and
standing
so to say about the vloggers and the bloggers, but everybody who walked out Gideon's, we were standing. So we were there at 9 a.m. for Gideon's that opens at 10 a.m. So we're there for an hour long. I had a mom and her kids. The mom was letting her kids pose in front of Gideon's like it was Mickey Mouse because we
yep.
need a picture in front of Gideon's. There's a lot of people wanting to go in, so let's take pictures. We had a couple come by and it's like, hey, what everybody, why are you waiting in this line? I'm like, please, you tell me because obviously I don't know. Um, and they went like, well, we can have these cookies where we live every day. I'm like, yes, but it's a bit different. But every single one afterwards that walked out of Gideon's, a picture of the box, a picture of the wrapping, a picture of the cookie held up like they were Tom Corliss or something. It, everybody, you're still muted, Jason.
They ought to just take professional photos and let people just download them off their website and pretend they were at Gideon's, and you can put it on your Instagram, right? Like, I mean, it is kind of
Photoshop app.
this whole thing is so absurd. Like, you get people with like 4-inch long green fingernails touching the cookies. I'm like, that's not an appetizing picture, honestly. But you go ahead.
Do grant that the one who touches that with the nails just touches the food and then throws it away. So
That's true. They don't
not
eat
that
it
bad
anyway.
for the food.
Which is a shame for when you spend $6 for a cookie, right? Like all these people are waiting 12 hours for a cookie, and you're going to put a 6-inch fingernail on it and then throw it away. That's terrible. But anyways,
The only reason I didn't eat my cookies it was I needed them to show tonight. So,
yeah.
by the way, that morning they have a cookie, the morning exclusive called the coffee cake cookie. It's really good. It's like this cinnamon bun. You have to buy the icing extra for $1.50, which if you
Of
think that
course.
cookies of $6 are a lot, but icing at $1.50, like woohoo! Um, but it was really good. Like, and then I know there's a lot of people. I'm not into peanut butter and all that, but there was like a peanut butter cold brew
Yeah,
something.
you Europeans
A
are
lot of
weird with
people like
peanut butter.
that. Um, I mean, I have somebody who drinks peanut butter whiskey, and that's the only reason why that's on the shelf right there.
So,
But hey,
so speaking of that shelf, Steve in the chat is asking if you're in a bar or is that your house?
I'm actually so our local Hooters said I was allowed to come in and tape the show.
I don't believe it, Axel, because you're not eating wings and there's no one behind you bringing beers.
No, unfortunately not. No, I have to admit, it's my
Um,
bedroom.
let's see. Oh, so oh, Desi says you and Eric should have had your nails done before this morning's live stream. Um, I mean, at least
So
if
there's
if one of you had your nails painted, that would give more credence to the thought that you were a couple.
Well, and that's the reason. So we sharing a donut and a balloon ride where we were the only ones on there. So go check out that live. It's on the channel. Sharing a balloon ride and afterwards sharing a donut. If we would have done our nails, like it would be hard to convince people we're not a couple.
Yeah. So that morning exclusive cookie, I'm curious, like, what happens at noon? Do they just take all the rest of them that they haven't sold and like chuck them, or what?
No, so it's a morning exclusive, and they expect to sell out of them pretty quickly. And they do. They really do. So everybody's like, everybody who got in and when I was listening around, got that morning cookie. And honestly, if I would never think like, hey, 10 a.m. now I'm gonna eat a cookie. I mean, I only do like 1,000 calories donut. But that morning, that coffee cookie was really like it's a cinnamon roll, and it was really good with the icing. I I would eat that as breakfast. Yeah, and actually we did.
I mean, that sounds good. That's what I would get if I was going to go. Now I have to go to Gideon's next time I come, and I have to get there early too, because that one sounds like it's
9
the
a.m.
best.
Well, I mean, so it's always like a thing where do you want to lose time? Where do you want to wait or not? I think if you arrive anything between 9 and 9:15, 9:30, you'll be with the first ones in. Once after that, they start giving out the return times.
Okay,
But I prefer like to be there at 9, talk a bit, wait an hour, have a coffee, get in, get out. That's
right.
it. Because with a return time, even though it's like this virtual wait, I mean, sure, I can go and have a coffee or a drink somewhere, but that return time can turn out to be 3 hours. If they're out of stock and they need to wait to be restocked or rebaked,
Yeah,
it could be 5 or 6 hours.
yeah.
So then
And
I
then
prefer
and
to
then
do like the 1 hour wait and just be done with it.
so you didn't have a return time, but do you know, does the return time like do you get right in, or is there still a line even if you have a return time? Is it like Fast Pass Plus or return times for Rise of the Resistance, where the line to get into the checkpoint for Rise of the Resistance is in Grand Avenue, that there's so many people with a return time?
So the way that I have seen it, and we did not do the return time, we just waited. Everybody who gets in line will have a return time.
Okay.
So at the front of the line, somebody will give you the return time. If you have one, you're allowed in. But
I
that
got it.
line would still be like, even with your return time, it would still hit like Morimoto corner,
Okay. So
give and take.
decent. Okay. All right. Um yeah, no, I'm definitely going to go cuz the cookies are good. I've had some of them. You know, Nick used to bring them into the studio. I've had them. They're good. That cinnamon one sounds really good. Um so I would go and
I
get
It
them.
do
is.
need
It's
to
a
know if
morning
they travel
exclusive. So,
well.
Do they travel well?
well,
Like,
Nick keeps them in a
how
van for
long?
about an hour, hour and a half.
No, no. And how? When does it get stale? Can I take it home with me and
She's
enjoy it for a week?
basically asking Axel, can you take that one on your desk and mail it to her?
Exactly.
No, I did. I got
FedEx.
a request.
Uh,
My sister asked me to get one for her and bring it home in a few weeks, and then she saw the ridiculous line and said, "Don't do that." But is it going to last, or is it going to be stale by the time it gets home? Is what I want to know.
I mean, the amount of dry ice going around the world right now will, you'll probably get some of the black market. You can keep it. You can bring it home. Should work.
Oh boy. I mean, I you know, with all that chocolate covering the outside of the cookie, there's not much of it to like get stale.
Yeah.
So you'd have to
No,
figure.
and I think it's when you eat it, and that's the only thing that you need to like for me, it's more like a cookie dough than an actual cookie.
Yeah, it's more like
It's
a
it's
brownie,
really
right?
thick. Yeah, so you
Mm.
Yeah.
you need to like the brownie cookie dough style rather than saying like this is just a regular cookie. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a regular cookie.
The chat is being very amusing and coming up with all different ways they can to spell chocolate, which I find funny. Um, let's see. So my last question, since you did go to Everglazed, um, you didn't get that like grilled cheese donut thing, right?
Ooh.
So
So we we went so Gideon's first. We had our cinnamon cookie, did the aerophile, and then went to Everglazed.
okay,
I was happy that I was even going to get a donut, but just for the sakes of streaming, we got something. We didn't want to go all fancy this time.
I see, I see. I'm kind of like I don't really want to eat that grilled cheese donut, but I'm kind of intrigued by it. So I'm torn at this point. It's sort of like
There's a lot of things that I'm intrigued to as well, but still, I'm not prepared to do.
yeah. Well, if it turns out that that's really good, I can absolutely see Krispy Kreme like coming out with like bacon, egg, and cheese on a Krispy Kreme donut, right? Like that's the next
Oh
I
logical
God.
mean,
step.
there's there's places, a lot of places have like a donut hamburger. So like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other thing
Donut
Doesn't
that
chicken
Pop Century have
sandwiches.
a
yeah, donut chicken sandwich. That's right.
Yep.
Um, the other thing that I'll admit is good is Annie Ann's at the airport has a bacon, egg, and cheese on a pretzel. And Annie Ann's pretzels are really good. And then you make a sandwich out of it
but
that's really good.
but pretzels are already like savory or not like
Yeah, they're
sugary,
not
so
sugary,
it's
right?
still
That's
a
the
bit
difference.
Yeah.
different.
That's the difference. All right, let's move on to our last topic. I feel like I've been ranting quite a lot all night, but since I promised people in the post today that I would rant about these Epcot posters, uh, I I guess I have to. All right, so here's my thing. They came out with these posters. There's like 40 of them almost. They're $90 each. And they were supposed to be limited edition of 100. Then they became limited edition of 200. Then they became limited edition of 300. But whatever. I'm one away from completing the set now. Which is kind of annoying to me, but I didn't get the two I didn't go to the D23 Expo last year, so I didn't get the two at the D23 Expo. I finally got them a couple weeks ago. The one that I'm missing is the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's my own fault because somebody was there when it came out, and they said, "Do you want one?" And at that point, I was still so upset that they were taking away my universe of energy and making this stupid roller coaster that I was annoyed, and I said no. Like, I'm not collecting this set of posters. I don't want that one particularly. So I said no. And now that's the only one I don't have, is the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind poster. I have the rest of the posters. I don't have that one. So obviously I now I kind of want that one. I'm kicking myself for saying no when I could have gotten it for $90. It's the one left I need. It's the one that's not anywhere to be found. It's like on eBay for $1,500, and I'm like,
Oh God.
I don't want it for that price. Like I'm willing to pay over, retail, but I'm not paying $1,500 for that stupid poster. Anyway, now after that debacle that like spent all last year, annoying the crap out of people with these posters and all the problems between the different edition sizes and then selling out and not selling out, and we talked about the stock issues and whether This online store can't figure out whether they have the thing in stock or not. We finally got through the set, and there's like 38, and I've got 37 out of the 38, and I'm pretty happy. And if I don't get the Guardians one, well, it's fine. I'm still mad at them taking away Universe of Energy. But now they've decided, well, there must have been enough demand for these posters that, hey, let's make some more. But let's make them different enough that the people that collected the last set are still going to need them. But let's not make the same mistake. I can't believe they learned from their mistake. These are not limited edition anymore. Right? These are limited release posters now. They're not limited edition posters because that was a debacle last time. Now they're limited release posters. They're different enough with like different sparkly inks that the nutjob collectors like me that got the whole set and went through all that hell are still going to want to get these. But they're not limited edition, so they could sell more of them. They're slightly bigger, which is true. They also cost more money. They're made with cheaper paper, cheaper inks, cheaper printing process. They're not limited edition, and somehow they're selling them for more money. Now, honestly, that makes me not want to buy them. If they were cheaper, I probably would buy them. The fact that they're more expensive than the limited edition ones they sold last year, and they're cheaper in every other way except for the fact that they're larger, it makes me not want to buy them. And maybe I won't. So they're supposed to come out with one a month. So I believe the large ones are going to be a set of 12. Right? They're not going to be all 38. The World Showcase ones didn't sell anywhere near as well as the Future World ones. So I'm pretty sure they're not putting any of the World Showcase ones on as part of this new series. But there's 12 of them. Now they're coming out with these small prints that are cheaper, and they're doing all 38 of them. Fine, I don't need the small prints. But the big posters, there's only 12. So you're going to have a set of 12 that's not like the whole set. How they pick which 12, I don't know, because the first one is the Journey of Water. And what's absurd about that is that I'm surprised that attraction hasn't gotten cut yet. Right? Like, that attraction isn't guaranteed. That attraction could still be cut from the whole plan. You've had plenty of other things. The World Celebration poster with the big tower thing. They didn't sell that poster because it got cut. They didn't sell the Mary Poppins poster because it got cut. So why on earth would they sell the Journey of Water poster, right? Like, you're actually selling something that doesn't exist yet. Plus, you want to get people hooked on this new series. You want them to buy it. Why would you start with a poster of an attraction that doesn't exist? Why wouldn't you put, like, a fan favorite attraction like Spaceship Earth as the first poster so that everybody wants to buy it, and then everybody gets a Spaceship Earth poster, and then they feel compelled to continue with the series? They didn't start with Spaceship Earth. They didn't start with any other attraction that people like. They didn't even start with an attraction that people don't like Journey into Imagination. They started with an attraction that doesn't exist. What kind of moron came up with the idea of let's start with... Did they look at a map of Epcot and say, let's start from whatever's nearest the front of the park and go counterclockwise? Like, what were they thinking to start with Journey of Water? I am flabbergasted that was the first release in this new set. And so, again, here's a case where I'm probably not going to buy it. And then I'm going to come back later and I'm going to be like, I should have bought it, but I don't want to buy it. I really don't. Like, I'm tired of these posters. And I'm tired of the crappy Shop Disney experience altogether. And I don't want to kick myself again, but I don't want these posters. Like, I don't know of anybody that wanted these posters. Did people ask for these posters? I think people were annoyed enough. That's like what if they came out with another Minnie Mouse main attraction release? What if they came out with this Minnie Mouse major attraction instead of main attraction, and it was like the same thing but a different size, and they had a whole year of release of these? Like, people would be pretty annoyed, I have to imagine. And so anyway, that's my rant for today. I these things annoy
That was
me.
okay.
I don't Shop Disney is just so frustrating to me. I hate all of these things, but I still love Disney. I do, and so David says this in the chat, and here's an explanation, and Tom gives this explanation to people, and I agree, and it makes a lot of sense. If today was like the first time I went to Disney World, I might be impressed, but I wouldn't be obsessed. The reason that I think we are all obsessed with Disney is not because of the product they're putting out right now. It's because of the product they put out when we were kids. And we still have some glimmer of hope that the quality of product they put out when we were kids will eventually come back. That's why we're obsessed with Disney. That's why we hate everything, pretty much everything they're doing right now we don't like. And we complain about it. Because we have a glimmer of hope that, you know, everything is cyclical and the good times will come back. If you could take me back, if somebody came to me today and said, I will take you back to another point in the past, but you have to stay there and you can't leave, I would be like, take me back to 1986 Epcot. That's what I would say. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be in 2020 Epcot. I don't want to be in 2010 Epcot. I want to be in like 1986 Epcot. And so the reason, I mean, maybe part of the reason that we go to Disney all the time and we give them all of our money is because maybe they'll spend some of it making something that we actually want. They haven't done it in a long time. But maybe at some point they'll take the money that we spend and build something that we actually want them to build, that we want to see, that we will appreciate. And I think to me, as long as there's a glimmer of hope left that will happen, I'm still going to go to Disney World. I'm probably not going to be happy about it for a long time. But yeah, like if Tom Staggs or Dick Noonan, like what we really want is we want, like, I don't know, Josh D'Amaro is probably too far into this that it's not going to happen. But we want like the next Michael Eisner or the next Dick Nunes or the next Frank Wells or even the next Tom Staggs, right? Like we want Matt May. We want the next one of them to get in charge. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're waiting for. And we don't want to give up Disney until that happens. We're going to keep going, but we're not really going to be happy about it until something like that happens. Somebody with a vision and an understanding of the way this company was built and what the people liked about it when they went the first time. That's what I'm pinning my hopes on. And, you know, as long as there's that possibility, which I think there always will be, as long as there's that possibility, I'll keep going back because I'll keep hoping that it will happen. But again, so there was years and years ago, when Tom and I still did the WDWNT podcast this was before he even moved to Florida, I think. We did a long series of segments that was called the Golden Age. And what we did was every week we talked about a different year and what we liked that happened in that year. And at the end of the segment, which was like months and months and months long, maybe it was a year long, at the end of that, we picked like what was the best year for, Test Track. And we put that in the equation. And we calculated this best year for everything. And we came up that like the best year of Walt Disney World was 1986. And that's pretty accurate. Like, I would take 1986. You don't get Splash Mountain, that's fine. You don't get Tower of Terror, that's fine. You get Big Thunder, but you get all of Epcot. You don't even get Studios, but at this point, what is Studios anymore? It's junk. Kate in the chat asked, can I name one thing I still enjoy in Epcot? There's some things that I still enjoy in Epcot. They're disappointing to me, but I still enjoy them. Listen to the Land, or Living with the Land, is a good example where I really enjoyed it much more when it was Listen to the Land, or even when they had like real life cast members doing the spiel. But that is still an enjoyable attraction to me. I enjoy it. Let me think if there's I mean, honestly, the Living Seas is pretty enjoyable. It's probably the thing that has stayed the same the most since it opened. I mean, now with the sea cabs back as clam mobiles or whatever they are now. I forget what they're called. I mean, that Omnimover being brought back to life from what all of us thought was almost certain death is pretty amazing. So the Living Seas is good. I mean, honestly, Journey into Imagination has a lot of nostalgia. The fact that the ride vehicles are still the same is pretty amazing to me. Like, I almost ride that ride just because I like that the ride vehicles are the same as they were in 1982. Or 1983, sorry. The other thing is Spaceship Earth. And Spaceship Earth will probably always be my favorite. And mostly it's because that's another thing that's very minimally changed since it opened. There have been updates. For the most part, the updates have been necessary. And a lot of cases, the updates have been good. As far as the show scenes go, the changes to the narrator I'm not a big fan of. But if you ask me, like, what is my absolute favorite thing at Epcot, it's Spaceship Earth. That's the thing that I remember the most from my childhood. And that's the thing that is the same, substantially the same as it was in my childhood. And so that would be it. I mean, there's not a lot. And I didn't go into World Showcase because as a kid I wasn't super into World Showcase, and there weren't really attractions. They were just films. Illuminations would have been on that list if it still existed. But sorry, yeah. Shannon.
No, that's okay. I was going to say I will always appreciate World Showcase, and for this very reason, when we, my family and I went to Italy for the first time, we actually went with Adventures by Disney. I don't know how many years ago it was now, but when we went to Venice, my sister and I looked at each other, and without even having to say it, we said out loud, "This looks like Epcot." Rather than Epcot looking like Italy looks like Epcot, and I always appreciate that about Epcot and the sightlines. Tower of Terror and Morocco that'll never be lost on me.
Yeah, no, very good point. I need to address something. Sorry, actually, I need to address something in the chat that Dawn brought up. People are talking about that I don't like change, and I'm having a hard time dealing with change. It's not that I don't like change, and Dawn put this very well. Dawn said, I'm not pining for it to be exactly like it was in 1986. I just want something of equal quality as it was in 1986, right? Like, I don't want the Illuminations of 1986, because honestly, if you look at Illuminations, it wasn't, back in 1986, it wasn't that good. It's much better as Reflections of Earth. The best show that was ever put on in World Showcase Lagoon was Reflections of Earth. That was better quality than the shows that came before it. You're talking about the experience in, as I said about Spaceship Earth. I said most of the updates that they did to Spaceship Earth were necessary, right? Like the finale of Spaceship Earth was this amazing projection of the Earth on the top of the dome, and you had like a space station, and you had some static figures that were like working on the space station. Sorry, yes, Arlo, Illuminations didn't exist in 1986. It was still Laserphonic Fantasy. That's my mistake. But still, Illuminations is better than Laserphonic Fantasy too. The finale of Spaceship Earth being at the top of the geosphere and having Earth projected on it was pretty amazing. And you used to have a space station, and you used to have some astronauts that weren't even animatronics. They were just still figures kind of like working on the space station. They changed that because they had to, right? Like, we launched a space station. That's not like futuristic anymore. So I get it. That's fine. It needed to be changed. Whether this green projected matrix thing means anything or not, like, it's kind of meaningless. It's neat. It's sort of meaningless. But the Earth, the projection of the Earth is still there. They actually upgraded the projector so it looks 100 times better than it did in 1986, right? I understand the space station had to change. That's fine. You know, the descent had to change. The problem is the descent in 1986 actually meant something, right? Like, it had a song, and it had things to look at. And now the descent is black walls, and they want you to look at a screen. Well, let me tell you, I look at a screen enough during the day. I don't want to go to a theme park and look at a screen, right? I don't want to push a push-button screen that's an absurd, some kind of survey that I could do on my iPad. I want to look at some real things, and they were there, and then they took them out. That didn't make it better. Right, like, so back in like the 80s, there was this weird, like, when you started the descent, there was this like this water mist sprayer thing, and like a green laser that would like go in a circle, some kind of circular laser thing, and it was really cool. And like, when I was that age, I was really like into lasers and thought it was neat. That needed to change. Obviously, that wasn't going to stand the test of time, right? When you can sell laser pointers in the dollar store and people can do that at home, that's not going to be an impressive thing for people in a theme park attraction. I get it. What they changed it to was something even worse. Like, the laser thing had to change, and they put these, like, star-looking things on sticks that hang down. That's fine. The rest of the descent, where you have to look at a screen instead of looking at like a model of Spaceship Earth with fiber optics coming out of it and a song, now you look at a screen with annoying animation of your head kind of chopped off into weird shapes because it's automated facial recognition from 2007. And then having to like answer questions on a screen is absurd for a theme park attraction. Like, if you want to talk about something that doesn't stand the test of time, there you go. Right? Like, honestly, I'd rather look at a laser shooting through mist, because they still have that at Voyage of the Little Mermaid, and it's a pretty neat effect. I know people hate Voyage of the Little Mermaid. It's one of my favorite things. They have the water mist with the lasers that make it look like you're under the sea. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty good effect. I'd rather look at that than a screen on my ride vehicle. And so I don't necessarily want the same Spaceship Earth I had in 1986. But I will tell you, the 1986 version is a hell of a lot better than the version we have now. Overall, it's a better version of the ride. And so if I had to pick one, that's the one I'd take. If they're going to upgrade the one we have now, maybe they'll make it better than the 86 version. I hope so. I hope we get a descent that has things to look at. I hope we get a song, whether they bring back Tomorrow's Child, which is like my third favorite song of anything, or whether they come up with a new song, it doesn't matter. Either one will be better than what it is now. And so that's all I want. I don't want, I mean, if I had the choice between Epcot now and Epcot of 1986, I would absolutely take Epcot of 1986. If I had the choice between Epcot of 1986 and Epcot of 2024, where all the attractions are quality and are, they don't even need to be educational. They just need to be quality attractions that have something unique about them, that don't force you to do stupid things like push buttons on a touch screen. You know, I just want something that was even close to the same quality as 1986 Epcot. Like, I don't want a test track where there's really nothing to look at except outlines of trees, you know, colored green by a laser. I don't want that. 1986 had Horizons. It got replaced with Mission Space. I like Mission Space. I don't know that it was better than Horizons, but it's on quality level with an Epcot attraction for the most part. I realize not everybody can ride it. I realize people get sick, yada, yada, yada. I kind of like it. I do miss Horizons. Mission Space certainly could have been put somewhere else. But at least Mission Space is a well thought out Epcot style attraction. Test Track is not anymore. You know, honestly, Living Seas is kind of pretty good too. But some of these other things, like Journey into Imagination, is sad. So yeah, I don't want them to bring back 1986 Epcot. I just want to make that clear. I want them to bring back quality attractions like Epcot had in 1986. And that's the end of my rant, because that's a bonus rant. And I will turn this over to everybody else who wants to say things, and you guys can talk as long as you want. I'm done for today, but we'll go on as long as you want to talk. And if there's anything else that happened this week that you guys want to talk about, please feel free.
So, Jason, I was just going to add to the point where you said, like, when we talked before you started, when Shannon said, like, Venice looked like Epcot. So I have to disappoint you if you do Soaring. The Eiffel Tower was straight. I was shocked and amazed at the same time when I arrived in Paris. I did not expect that. I do have a good bar where after a while you will definitely see it, like in Soaring, but that's another topic. Yeah, shocked and amazed.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things about 86 Epcot, and that's back in my wheelhouse too. It's 84, 86 was when I was going there, and those things you mentioned are just what I call quintessential Disney. Spaceship Earth, nothing else like it at the time. Living Seas, nothing else like it, and those are the things that drew me to Disney. Is I love roller coasters. I've got a regional park here that is awesome, but it's just amusement park stuff. And I go to Disney because there's things there that some of them are really fancy and cool. Others are simple, like the People Mover, that just you don't find anywhere else. And the experience is just unlike nothing else. And that's what always kept drawing me back. And so much of the new stuff that's coming out, to me, doesn't have that same, thing, the bar that sets it apart from everything else.
It doesn't have that impact on you.
Right. And like we talk about World Showcase too. And I love to walk through World Showcase, because when you walk through World Showcase, it feels the same today as it did then. I mean, the things have changed internally. There's Frozen and things, but it's still the same vibe. You're walking through the countries. You feel like you're changing, parts of the world. You're getting immersed. And that's one of my favorite places on property, is because it still has, there's nothing like that where I can walk from one place to another and feel like I traveled across the world. So those are the things that again, like you said, draw me back to that nostalgia of of those things that just set Disney apart from everywhere else.
I'm kind of going back to the poster and I was the same way. The Moana poster, I don't get it. I didn't get the attraction to begin with when they announced it. I think that's why it's not going to get budget cut, because essentially it's just some landscaping, right? Some waterfalls, maybe an area for your kids to splash around when it's hot. But is this some odd marketing ploy to get people excited about attraction that's not very exciting? I don't get it. I don't even want to go see the attraction, let alone buy a $90 poster.
I mean, I think the attraction will be kind of fun for kids. Like, I remember the Journey into Imagination jumping fountains. They were really cool in the 80s. I mean, there's a lot of kids that love those now. So if Journey of Water can, like, be at least at that level, which, if it's not at least at the level of jumping fountains, I'd be embarrassed. But
so tell me, Jason, would you be more interested in the poster if the attraction never opened? Would that be something? It's like, ooh, I've got an attraction poster of something that never opened.
That's a good question. And so there's people on eBay that like have taken high-res photos of all those posters that are up in the Epcot experience, and you can buy them. And I actually really toyed with the idea of buying the World Celebration poster, because that one's not been produced, and I feel like it kind of completes the set. And same with Mary Poppins, although honestly I hate Mary Poppins, so I probably wouldn't buy that one. I don't hate Mary Poppins herself. I had a very bad experience with Mary Poppins. We went. This was part of the WDWNT 5th anniversary in 2012. We did a thing in New Jersey and New York where we went to the World's Fair site, Flushing Meadows, and stuff. And we went to New York and we saw Mary Poppins on Broadway, and it was the worst Broadway musical I've ever seen. And ever since then, I don't like Mary Poppins, and it's really because that musical turned me off to its. I mean, it's a good movie. I get it, but that the terribleness of that Broadway musical really turned me off to Mary Poppins, and so that's all it is. It's a personal thing. It's not like it's a bad movie. I know people like Mary Poppins. It's not like I hated the Mary Poppins scene in Great Movie Ride, right? Like, it's just that the musical was terrible.
See, and that's probably why I hate the Moana attraction, because I really wanted Poppins and she got canned.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think you would have liked the Poppins attraction anyway. At least from what I've heard it was going to be, I don't think it was going to be a good Mary Poppins attraction anyway. That it probably would have pissed people off that they put so little into making an attraction for a movie that so many people like. That probably would have annoyed people, that like they're taking this really great thing that's stood the test of time and it's been around for a long time and people still like Mary Poppins, and then they give it like the worst ride ever. That would have annoyed people. But anyway. So we did this this thing for the 5th anniversary, and going to Flushing Meadows was really cool, and I highly recommend anybody to do that. If you're at all a fan of Epcot or Disney or the World's Fair, going to Flushing Meadows and walking around the World's Fair grounds, and then going to the museum that's there. It's the Queen's Museum of Art, I think it's called. It's in one of the buildings that was an original World's Fair building, and now it's an art museum. But they have a replica of Manhattan and the 5 boroughs in like a miniature setup that's on this huge platform. The room is like the size of, I don't know, it's got to be like 1,500 square feet of this miniature model, and you can walk around it. Like, you walk on this raised platform around the model to see it, and it's amazing. But anyway, that's really digression. But it's such a cool museum, and Flushing Meadows is cool to walk around the World's Fairgrounds, and you go to that museum, and you go to the New York Hall of Sciences there, and that was an original pavilion from the World's Fair too. You can definitely go there and spend a day. I mean, it's a science museum, but it's cool that it was an original World's Fair building. So anyway, that's a nice little trip if you're in that area or something. I mean, I took my kids there then later, well after that 5th anniversary WDWNT 5th anniversary event that we had. It was something. But I digress. That's a tangent. I got distracted again. Sorry. What else? Anything else that you guys want to talk about?
So I'm curious of all the things that have been canceled. Just what your thoughts? That World Celebration Pavilion, at the rooftop. To me, that was one thing I was looking forward to. I thought that was going to be a very cool addition. So that's probably the one thing that greatly disappoints me, especially with all the destruction they've done in Future World. So I don't know if any of you have thoughts on that.
That's disappointing because they tore down half of Communicore to build it, and now they're not building it. Yeah. That's the disappointing part.
I'd imagine they'd have to do something though now that they're not going to have they're going to have the play pavilion.
Well,
where they used to have the festival center. Maybe.
I mean, they could probably just put up like a giant tent and call it the festival center. That's probably like what they'll do in that space. Now that they've destroyed the whole building, or that, I mean, I'm sure they'll do something. The World Celebration Pavilion thing was actually sort of something interesting because I wasn't really a fan of it. It was gonna kind of be like, it looked neat. Okay, you got that, right? It was going to be like a festival center, which was kind of something that was needed. It was going to have a dessert party thing at the top that you could watch fireworks. Honestly, the position of that building and how far away it was from World Showcase Lagoon, I don't think it would have been good for a dessert party. I'd much rather pay money for a dessert party that's either at World Showcase Plaza right in the front, or at the Italy Island or the France Island or something. That World Celebration never to me seemed like it's the right place, but it looked cool. It would have been something neat. I'm upset. Even if it wasn't going to be great, I'm upset that they tore down Communicore and now they're not building it.
Yeah, another 1986
right.
loss there. I remember, the whole Communicore. I remember going into the screens in the morning and making my dining reservations with my parents.
That was actually a Spaceship Earth. That wasn't a Communicore.
That was underneath Spaceship Earth,
That was in the post-show area of Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
But we did that all the time. That was the first thing we did. Imagine that. You had to make a dining reservation on the same day. How about that? When is the Space 2020 restaurant opening? Not in 2020. That thing was supposed to. That thing was supposed to open in 2019. Remember?
We were going to try to go. We went for Marathon Weekend, January 2020.
Right. I was there the weekend before that. And I was hoping it would be open. And then, nope.
Have we seen any photos of what the inside looks like yet? Because we saw the photos this week of the inside of the Starship Hotel.
Oh yeah.
And the window ports that are going to be out the space were so small in the rooms. I'm like, oh my God, that very disappointing. I was thinking that the restaurant I was going to walk into and have just this huge surround of outer space.
That's what I think it's going to be. Just because, honestly, the amount of glass that they would have to use to make a window that you could see out, I think it's just going to be like a projection wall. But I haven't seen anything other than the concept art of what it looks like before, and to some extent, I'm not surprised because we've seen the Galactic Star Cruiser because that's a Disney thing, right? This restaurant is not a Disney restaurant. It's not run by Disney. Disney there's no benefit to Disney to like promote it or show people like sneak peeks of it or get people excited about it because, they make the same money from patina that is going to run the restaurant, whether people go or not, to be honest. And so I don't think they even care. That's why they're not showing us sneak peeks, because it's not something they care about.
Part of Epcot is, about the future, and they're always kind of trying to stay ahead of the curve. There's going to be an actual restaurant in outer space before Space 220 eventually opens, is my guess.
You could actually get on a ship and go to the space station and eat before you could eat in the space restaurant at Epcot.
We have commercial space flight. We're one step there.
I know, right? Yep. Michael in the chat says they haven't Steve says they haven't even started construction on the elevator. And Michael says they'll probably budget cut the elevator and put in a ladder.
Oh, God.
Axel, anything from you, or are you still you've got like sugar coma now, don't you? From the cookies.
I'm actually, it was not too well. The cookie was okay. It was way more the donut. The alcohol at Jocks like leveled it out, so that was good.
Oh, you went to Jux after the stream. I get it.
Yes, today was a great stream. We had some amazing viewers, like we always have here at WDWNT. But it was a fun thing. Our streams are a lot of fun. 4 days a week, plugging it one more time. So hey, we did so since I haven't been on, but before we still had like some commercials. Now there's been no commercials at all, so I need to plug our stuff. So be sure to watch our shows. We have an entertainment channel. Go check out that. Just hit WDWNT.tv in your browser, and you'll be right at the entertainment channel. Lots of fun there. Unboxing stuff, unboxing Jason's stuff.
Yeah,
it's always
unboxing
good.
My stuff. Yes, that's all there. Also, stay tuned tomorrow night at 9 o'clock for Cosmic Read. That's next coming up. Go check out Carousel of Products. Are the hats still available at Carousel of Products? Does anybody know?
So last night, we had like 20, I think 20, so it's a limited edition of 100. We had like 20 left, and it was like the smaller size, like the big sizes, there weren't a lot of the big sizes
like
anymore.
You got
so
yours and I got
they go
mine,
pretty fast.
and we bought all the big head ones, yes.
Yes.
So there's a couple of hats left. The WDWNT logo fitted.
There's still a lot of t-shirts. There's t-shirts left.
There's t-shirts as the two of you. Must be kind of embarrassing, Axel, to come on the show and be wearing the same shirt as Shannon.
Yep. How dare you?
Well, not as embarrassing wearing the same shirt. More embarrassing that she wears it better than me. But,
Oh, that's sweet.
So anyway, those of you who are still here, please click the like button and click the bell to subscribe and all that jazz, because that helps us out. Thank you again to the Super Chats, for the Super Chats early on. We got Super Chats before the show started, which was pretty amazing. So that was great. I want to thank Michael and Shannon, our new panelists for tonight. You guys did a great job. And I think our audience really enjoyed your appearances tonight. So welcome to the Pressing Issues roster of panelists. Any other things you guys want to talk about? before we put this thing to bed because it's past my bedtime.
The one thing I have is the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, so
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So don't book me on that night for the next show.
That's fine. That's fine. Maybe some like weird Disneyland Paris news will come out that night, and we can have our Paris people on the show.
There you go.
I'm really sorry that weekend, and again, a third plug for the live stream. Super Bowl Sunday will be live streaming from Vero Beach. Be sure to check it out.
Really?
Yes.
You're going to Vero Beach?
It will be streamed from Vero Beach. I'm not saying if I'm going to be there. No, it's me. We're going to Vero Beach for the weekend, so we'll be streaming from Vero. A lot of people want to see it, so like, hey, why not?
Just you and Elise? Who's your
Yes.
streaming
Are
buddy?
you suspecting that I would bring more wives with me?
No, I'm expecting that you would
mean-
bring your boyfriends with you, like your streaming buddies, you know.
So my streaming buddies, I mean, for Eric Morton, it's going to be a really terrible Sunday having the Bucks playing the
Yeah.
Chiefs. He will have a hard time, like, who will I root for? So no, I mean it's Super Bowl weekend. I'm not into American sports, so yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of people will stay away from Vero Beach during the Super Bowl.
Maybe. I love Vero Beach. I went for the first time last summer. I love it. It's great. I mean, there's problems. There's things I don't like about it, like the pool isn't great. But overall, as a resort,
There's an
it's really
ocean
nice.
next door.
Well, there's that. Right?
No.
That's why you don't really worry too much about the pool. But yeah, the ocean's great. Walking on the beach is great. It's a neat little town. You know, there's some great restaurants in the town. We had a really good time. We had a much better time at Vero Beach than I expected us to. So it was a lot of fun. I would totally go back to Vero.
So yeah, it's 2 weeks from now we'll be streaming from there, and we're trying, but it's really hard to get into Hilton Head.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do a live from there as well. But it's solidly booked. So yeah, but we're trying to get there.
Cool. Yeah, I've never been to Hilton Head. I'd go there. Let me know.
Well,
Let
Eric
me know when
already
you
invited
go.
himself, so
Oh, well, I mean, just, you know, I'll just stay in Eric's room then. That's fine. You're booking a 2-bedroom, right?
I only date one boyfriend at a time. I'm sorry.
Oh, shucks. Okay. I'll just try to have Elise invite me then, maybe. I'll short circuit asking you to invite me. But yeah, no, Vero's fun. I like the ocean. The ocean's nice. People in the chat are like, he doesn't like the ocean. I don't. I mean, I do like the ocean. I don't like the pool, honestly. I'd much rather go in the ocean than the pool, but most of
Honestly,
the rest of my
I
family
like the pool.
Yeah.
The thing with Vero Beach has a very I've never done a Disney cruise, but if I would have like a feel or an idea what it feels like to be on a Disney cruise, Vero Beach. Old people all over coming for their 70th time, having a grandma scream at their grandkids like, "Don't go ruining my vacation." I mean, I love Vero Beach. Pretty good.
Actually, I hate to tell you, that's a Norwegian cruise line. It's not Disney Cruise Line. Usually the old people don't go on Disney Cruise Line because of the kids. There's too many kids, so they go on like Norwegian instead. But
That's the reason I don't go on a Disney cruise line.
Michael in the chat says Vero Beach has the second biggest ocean in the entire world. Oh boy.
Can't beat that.
People are getting tired, I think. Anyway. Well, good. That'll be fun, Axel. I'll tune into that. I'll tune into that live stream. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button before you go. If we get to 200 likes, I'll con Jill into drinking a carrot margarita next time we're at Epcot. How about that? But hit the like button, subscribe.
Spare Jill.
Check out Cosmic Read tomorrow. Check out Axel's live streams.
Tomorrow is, by the way, Eric, probably Jill as well, live from Magic Kingdom. I think it's
Magic
Magic Kingdom.
Kingdom tomorrow. Wait, doesn't Jill have to work tomorrow?
It's going to be an afternoon stream.
Oh, okay. She's taking the afternoon off. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Welcome to our new panelists. Next week, we will have yet again 2 new panelists on pressing issues, and that will round out the 10 people that we brought aboard from the auditions last December. And so we have a nice, huge roster of panelists, which means if you have favorites, you won't get to see them every week. Unless your favorite is me, then you'll get to see me every week. But honestly, if we get enough people on here that and we get people that want to host, I'm more than happy to take a week off too at some point. So yeah, that'll probably happen at some point too, but I don't know when. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Check out all the news at WDWNT.com. And keep watching, keep up to date on our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and Foursquare and everything else. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.